Well, hello there. I'm Breeda Kelly Miller, and I want to welcome you to Cup and Saucer Cottage and my new project, which is storytelling with Breeda. So I have my cup of tea, and I'm not the irony of being in my business is Cup and Saucer Productions, and I have a mug, so I love it. Anyway, my new book is called Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home. I have a play of the same name, and this book is a companion, but also a standalone. So if you haven't seen the play, I think you'll enjoy the book. So I've decided until the audiobook is ready, and there will be a professionally recorded audiobook available later this year, but that it would be fun to just have some time here on my YouTube channel to share bits of the book. So in about 10 minutes or less, I'm going to share, I'm going to read the book to you, and I hope that you enjoy it. So it's Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home, Stories of an American Family. And every book that's purchased through my website or at live events will get this free bookmark. It's a door hanger, and not unlike a do not disturb sign in a hotel. You can hang it and it says, go away. And the rule is you can write rude things if you use a pretty font. Just saying. I'm taking a break before I break. So, a useful tool that I think we could all use today. So we'll start with the introduction. I don't think I could ever write a novel. I don't have the imagination for fiction, and that's why you can rest assured that all the stories in this book are true. The people are real, and the things they said and did actually happened. I just couldn't make them up. Now, I did take some time frames and squish them together to keep the stories moving along, but the truth is often stranger and funnier than fiction. That said, I hope that you enjoy this journey half as much as I have. I hope that you find yourself, your family, and your journey in this book, and that it might inspire you to record those precious stories, either on video, in a notebook, or just written on the back of the old photos. I believe that honoring our past helps us build our future. Plus, my mom wrote down several of these stories, and then wrote a note at the end, "For your future book, love, Mom." That was in 2007. This book is a promise I made to myself as I created the play Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home. As I wrote and revised, each edit removed stories or details that just wouldn't fit into a 90-minute play. I felt guilty and comforted myself by promising to include those details and extra stories in the book I would eventually write. My hope is that this book of very personal journeys will resonate with you. I do believe that we all have great stories in our lives. We just need to take the time to consider our experiences, remember them, and learn from them. I do think that ordinary experiences can make for extraordinary stories. Breeda Kelly Miller, December 2024. Dedication. This book is dedicated to my family in Ireland and in America. My parents, my brothers, my children, and my beloved Jim, without whom none of this would have been possible. For all the immigrants who struggle to fit in, and for all the caregivers who struggle to survive, may your strength and courage be remembered as acts of faith and love. Part 1. The journey begins. There's a photo of Tom and Mary Kelly at the seaside called Rush near Dublin in 1989. Two brave souls emigrated from Ireland to America in order to provide a better life for their children. They knew no one. They didn't have family to guide them. They had faith in God and in each other and in the American dream. The courage to leave one's native home, family and friends to explore a land across an ocean boggles the minds of most people. Life in Ireland in the 1950s was a struggle. Jobs were scarce, and unlike the rest of Europe, Ireland didn't benefit from the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe following World War II due to their neutrality. Tom and Mary Kelly's decision in 1956 to pack up and move to America set in motion a series of events that impacted lives on 4 continents. Marriages, births, and adoptions were all made possible by a singular decision of these 2 immigrants. This is their story. Here's a photo of Mary Kelly, age 7, in her first communion outfit that was handmade by her Auntie Lily. Mary Philomena Byrne was born to Rosemary and Henry Byrne on April 12, 1925, Easter Sunday in Dublin, Ireland. Because she was born on Easter, many said she should be called Esther, but her mother would have none of that. Her firstborn daughter would be called Mary, as was the custom in most Irish Catholic families at the time. The Byrne clan grew to consist of 3 boys and 3 girls, and they lived in a number of homes around the north side of Dublin. The final family home was in Prospect Square in Glasnevin, adjacent to Glasnevin Cemetery. A brick row house, it sat across the cobblestone square from one of Dublin's oldest pubs, Kavanagh's, known as the Gravediggers Pub. The pub had a small window on the wall backing up to the cemetery. After a long night of digging, pints would be passed through the window to the thirsty workers as they were too dirty to come inside. This historic cemetery was the neighborhood playground, and the Byrne kids played amongst the headstones and monuments all day. When little Mary Philomena was born, she was so tiny the doctors weren't sure she would live. She was indeed a survivor, a title she wore proudly. Her petite stature was always a point of pride, much to my embarrassment, as my shape favored the Kelly side. I always felt huge next to my mother. At doctor visits later in life, I winced as she made sure to inform the doctor that she was special and that she couldn't take regular doses of medicine because she had miniature organs. One of her favorite sayings was, "Good goods come in small parcels." Rosemary Byrne died of a stroke when Mary was just 21. As the eldest, she was expected to raise her brothers and sisters. So she did. Her father worked, and the Byrne children were educated by the Christian Brothers and the Holy Faith Sisters. The Byrne kids didn't know they were poor by today's standards. They didn't have any toys. They played with paper dolls for hours and spent evenings listening to the wireless. Mary's father took her into Dublin one day to see the exhibition of Marconi's first radio. Life in Dublin was busy. They were able to take the double-decker buses into the city center to go shopping in the massive department store on O'Connell Street, Cleary's. The traditional spot to meet up with friends was under the clock at Cleary's. They walked everywhere and enjoyed going to the picture show in town. The seaside was just a few stops away on the bus route. While Mary and her 2 sisters attended the Holy Faith Convent School, which had a stellar reputation for academics, she told me that when she and her sisters were walking in Dublin, they kept their heads down and walked quickly past the tall stone walls of the convent of the Magdalene Sisters. It was home to the infamous Magdalene Laundry. They didn't know what happened on the other side of the wall. They just knew it wasn't good. The Magdalene laundries were essentially workhouses throughout Ireland that used the labor of young women to run the service. Decades later, the abuse of young girls, many of whom were pregnant, was revealed. The treatment of young women and the babies they bore, who were taken from them, was a national disgrace. Mary met Tom when she worked in the office of a Dublin print shop, and he was a printer. She was just 22. In high contrast to the affable Byrne family, the Kellys lived in a different world, although it was only a few miles up the road. The Kellys were from Wexford and had moved to Dublin when Tom Kelly was a teenager. The family consisted of 9 children, including 1 set of girls, twin girls. Tom attended the Christian Brothers School and was treated harshly, along with all the other boys. He was an intelligent boy who loved to read. The Kellys were well known throughout Dublin for their intellect and quirky personalities. Following in his father's and brother's footsteps, Tom became a printer. He worked in small print shops as an apprentice for many years before landing a job with the Irish Independent, a Dublin newspaper. He loved it, but he wanted more. When Tom introduced Mary, the petite Dubliner, to his family, their response was less than enthusiastic. "So you're the Dub," was all his father had to say. They were hoping Tom would find a big strapping girl from the country who was also a nurse. Their courtship was spent attending local dances and riding around Dublin on Tom's motorcycle. Tom gave Mary 2 fabulous engagement gifts: a sparkling black bicycle, no chrome due to the war, and an English Springer Spaniel puppy. He knew her well. Here's a picture of Mary with her prized engagement gift that her brothers were very jealous of, and her dog Korab when he was 1 year old. We'll stop there, and there's so much more to come. Great stories, lots of pictures, and I hope that this little time telling stories is a welcome break for you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Sláinte.